everyone's coming in. Just like to say hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for our Unpuzzling webinar, Inside Canada's Food Labs, How Research Centers Fuel Innovation. I'm Lavina Gully, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Daigle. We are both Regional Innovation Directors here at CFIN, the Canadian Food Innovation Network. If you're not familiar with CFIN, we fund transformative food tech innovation, we stimulate collaboration, and foster a growing community of food and beverage professionals. We've also built the fastest growing and most engaged food business community in this country. At our core, our mission is to help Canadian food and beverage companies reach their full potential by connecting them to new ideas, to new technologies, and new opportunities that strengthen collaboration and position Canada as a global leader in food innovation. As somebody who's spent most of my own career in product development, I know firsthand how challenging it can be to move an idea from concept out to the shelf. Product development requires a lot of expertise, specialized equipment, testing capabilities, and oftentimes you just need a fresh perspective on whatever challenge you're facing. And that's where research centers come in. Across the country, we are fortunate to actually have a network of centers that provide exactly these types of resources. They offer technical teams and staff, facilities, and support that can help companies of all sizes. So whether you're a startup just developing your first product or prototype, or you're an established manufacturer looking to reformulate, do cost savings, explore new ingredients, or improve your shelf life, there are many centers available. So today's session is really designed to help raise awareness of those resources and highlight just the breadth of support that does exist across Canada. We want to show you that wherever you are located, there's likely a center that can help support you on your innovation journey. So I'm delighted to be joined by three fantastic speakers today, each representing a different research center. They're going to share a little bit about their facilities, their expertise, and most importantly, the ways in which that they partner with companies like yours. So with that, I'd really like to thank our speakers for joining us here today. And to everyone in the audience, thank you for making the time to join us and learn about this important resource. I really hope you'll find today's session both practical and inspiring. Before we dive in, so just a few housekeeping details. We are going to save some time at the end for audience Q&A. So feel free to submit your questions at any time throughout the webinar through the Q&A function. My colleague Julie, she'll be collecting the questions and then running the Q&A session later on. As well, all of our CFIN webinars do offer real-time text-based translation in over 60 languages, including French. So you can access the translations by using the incoming shared link. We are also recording this webinar, which you can find in about a day or so on our YouTube channel. And then finally, our team has a quick poll to help us get some information about who you are and where you're coming from, which will be launched shortly. So if you don't mind giving us a few minutes and just going through the poll, that would be great. All right, so while you're doing that, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Nicole De Long. Nicole is the Director of Business and Client Development at Vineland Research and Innovation Center. She's an accomplished leader with a strong track record of building relationships and translating research into real-world solutions. Nicole, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today. I will hand it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So first off, I just want to thank CFIN for organizing this opportunity to share Vineland's story. And thank you for those in attendance. I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you. So at its core, Vineland is about supporting horticulture for Canada, making sure our growers, our processors, and our industry remains competitive, sustainable, and profitable in this changing world. And so today I'll give you a snapshot of who we are, what makes us unique, and how we collaborate with industry to deliver impact. So our campus has deep roots in Canadian horticulture. It was established back in 1906, thanks to a gift from Moses F. Rittenhouse, a local philanthropist who thought that there needed to be more research in the tender fruit industry. So this endowment helped lay the foundation for Niagara's tender fruit industry, and later the region's ornamental and greenhouse sectors as well. Vineland Research is on 218 acres and showcases 35 buildings, including research laboratories, farms, and greenhouses, and is owned by Agricultural Research Innovation Ontario, or ARIO. So this is an agency of the Ontario government that focuses on high impact research and innovation, the management of properties for agricultural and food research, and the cultivation of strategic relationships that support the growth of the agricultural and food sectors. So while Vineland has existed in many forms, since 2007, we are an independent, not-for-profit research institute focused entirely on horticulture. Our mission is laser focused about improving the economic viability, sustainability, and competitiveness of Canadian horticulture. We work nationally, even though our roots are here in Ontario, but we leverage a cross-country network of growers, companies, and partners to deliver impact. Our strength is really in the integration of disciplines, whether it's plant science, robotics, AI, consumer insights, and market intelligence. We have all of those expertise under one roof. And that means that we can solve problems from multiple angles, whether it's from breeding better plants, to designing automation systems that fit your production line, or to understanding what the consumers really want at the end of the day. What sets us apart from our approach is that we work with industry hand in hand. If industry is not asking for it, we're not doing the research ultimately. And we do this to optimize, validate, demonstrate technologies and products in real world conditions before they reach the consumer or the grower. So when we talk about Vineland services, they really fall into one of three buckets. First is innovation and product development. This can include helping companies create new products and making sure that they're ready for the market through commercialization and IP management. The second is science and technology services. So here we provide validation, testing, analytical expertise so that your new ideas are backed by solid evidence and real world data. And finally, capacity building and knowledge sharing. So whether it's through training, professional development, or consultancy, we can work directly with industry partners to build skills and provide really tailored guidance. One key example of that is, training up sensory panelists, for example, if you wanted to build your own in-house expertise. Together, these services ensure that research doesn't just stay in the lab. Our real intention is to make sure that it gets out to the market, whether that's to your customers, whether they be growers, companies, or consumers, to ensure that they're benefiting from the innovations that you're developing. So when I say a multidisciplinary approach, we really build off of a huge variety of expertise that we have in-house. And our expertise really covers the entire horticultural value chain. So whether it's from plant breeding and genetics, so creating new varieties that have traits that consumers really want, that can mean taste, that can mean shelf life, that can mean resilience to climate adaptation. It can also mean nutritional density. We can also do production sciences and integrated pest management, working on healthier soils or reducing chemical use. Sustainable growing practices is a big focus of our research as well. But then also, how does technology incorporate into all of those components alongside the consumer sensory piece, and the market intelligence. As I mentioned, our horticultural technology solutions, when we think about that, it's really diving into robotics, vision systems, artificial intelligence. How do we start to tackle some of the big issues that we're facing in agriculture, such as labor shortages, or efficiencies on the product line, even packaging, for instance. And then consumer market insights, which I'll get into a little bit more detail later, but connecting science with business and market intelligence by understanding how your product really fits into the consumer's lifestyle, or into how it gets from the producer to the consumer itself. So we support product development and innovation in horticulture through sensory consumer research coupled with market and business intelligence to really understand the consumer, define new product opportunities, and how to position those products appropriately in the market. So whether that's understanding what are product similarities or differences, how consumers would perceive those traits. And we actually leverage an internal panel that we have on staff here at Vineland to do those testings for us. And we use them as an instrument, really. And then from a consumer sciences piece, understanding what are drivers or detractors of liking. So what are the components of your products that are really driving the consumer to enjoy them? And then how can you enhance those or bring those out even further? Or how do you build that into your marketing and portfolio for that product as well? And then understanding influences on behavior and what's really causing or incentivizing your consumer to purchase your product is really what that team focuses on there. We also have a market intelligence group that looks at what's the feasibility of a new product or service, and defining where exactly that market opportunity or where the path to market is for that product. If you don't already have your product roadmap defined, we can look at a variety of different options and then explain why one may be preferred over the other or what's more lucrative for you as a company. This team really has a profound background in biology, food science, psychology, business marketing, and statistical analyses as well, which we can leverage. So behind all of these expertise, what I believe is truly unique to Vineland is the infrastructure that we have to support that type of research. And so we have a number of different facilities here on campus to support our mission, including some really sophisticated labs that can manage disease and pests, to areas where our engineers can really pilot proof of concept products. They can construct them, they can validate them, they can prove them. But then also we have greenhouses everywhere from low tech to high tech, depending on what the needs of the project are. And then we have some soil and substrate work, a first of its kind of an open tree culture research park, and a biochemistry lab as well that we can all leverage together in a multidisciplinary approach. However, what I think most of you here are really interested in is our food technology lab and our sensory lab. And so we're not just growing plants here at Vineland, we're really helping companies transform the raw ingredients into high value products. And so this lab supports the development of everything from plant-based proteins, dairy alternatives, beverages, to purees and powders. And so we have the ability to take products that are created and or incorporated into secondary products and then run sensory testing or consumer trials right across the hall from this food technology lab as well, with our sensory lab that you see there in the bottom panel. This is a great way for companies to pilot what works before investing heavily. And this not only reduces risks, but also accelerates your innovations. So I'll jump right into 2 case studies here for you. So one of them is working alongside a really strong partner of ours, Norterra Foods. They came to us with a challenge of how to repurpose a processing byproduct that right now that they manage as waste. And so we started off by doing a full market assessment. And what that means is that we start with a bit of an academic literature search, followed by a commercial literature search. And this is really a scan to understand what the industry is doing in similar situations that they're facing. And then finally, we did a primary sector interviews with industry partners to scope the feasibility of the opportunities that we identified for Norterra. What were their options of how to deal with this waste? And then going out to industry and saying, okay, we've come up with these ideas. What's commercially feasible at the end of the day for Norterra? And this really narrowed down the options to the most promising. And then it's about making those connections for Norterra to understand, okay, well, here are a few options. Here are some partners that we can work with to do further research and development to understand what's the commercial application that we can make here. And so we identified opportunities to use corn silage juice as a fermentation substrate. And now Norterra is working with some commercial partners to really scale this up. So this is an example of a circular economy in action project, taking something that was once waste and turning it into a new business opportunity for them. The second project that I wanted to highlight was Gum Products International. So they were looking at upcycled onion peel powder. And how that can be used as an antimicrobial for shelf life extension. And so we created some value chain connections by connecting them with onion processors. And then what we also did was a lot of sensory and consumer testing. So the sensory testing that we did was identifying how to actually process the onion peel powder to make sure that it was because there are different methods in which you can use to dry the onion peels, and how those different methodologies really change the sensory profile of the powder at the end of the day. And we saw some pretty obvious differences, mainly in aroma, depending on the different methodology that we used. And then based on those results, we took the best method and we then took the powder and incorporated it into secondary products to understand at what level does it actually change the consumer acceptance of the product. At what point, what's the concentration that limits our ability to, but also maintains the palatability of the product itself. So in this case, we used breakfast sausage, and we found the point or the concentration that didn't change the palatability, but still had the antimicrobial benefits that we wanted to see. And now GPI is now taken that back into their internal R&D facility, and they're doing the microbial challenge testing, really to understand how much does it suppress the spoilage and the pathogenicity of the bacteria. So these are two examples that highlight what I think is our core role of de-risking new innovations. Companies face really high uncertainty when bringing in new technologies or products to market. And so by providing this independent testing, this market validation, and this really scientific rigor to the whole process, our real goal is to shorten the path to market and to get these ideas to adoption and into the market. So hopefully we're helping you invest smarter and hopefully succeeding faster as well. I wanted to highlight, now apologies in advance, these are very Ontario-centric, but these are the ones that came top to mind. There are a few funding opportunities that I've highlighted here. We have a commercialization stream within the Ontario Agri-Food Research Initiative, commercialization stream. And then also with the Ontario Centres of Innovation, Vineland is a technology development site where you can work with us, gives you access to our expertise and our infrastructure, alongside a little bit of cash for yourself as well, depending on the project that you're submitting, to work hand in hand with us to help bring your products to market. And then as a research institute, any funds that you spend with us are also SHRED eligible. So another tax incentive that I hope a lot of you are using already. So to sum it up, Vineland really is a trusted partner when we integrate the science, the technology, and the consumer insights. We do this in a multidisciplinary approach, ideally to bring your innovations to market. All with the intention of improving the economic viability, sustainability within the industry. And so I'd welcome the chance to explore how our expertise or how our facilities can support your priorities and really create value for the Canadian agri-food chain. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Those were great case studies that you presented. I agree with you. I think sensory is something that's often overlooked sometimes as part of the product development process. As companies can get very caught up in, internal opinions. And so it's so helpful to know that there's, a center out there that you can get kind of that, external view on your products and opinions and the data that goes along with it. So thank you so much for presenting that. Our next speaker is Anne-Marie Chapman, who is the Director of Research Development and Technology at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. With a background spanning engineering and environmental policy, she brings a very unique perspective to food research here in Canada. Welcome, Anne-Marie. I will just share your slides, so just give me a quick second.
Great. Thank you, Lavina. While the files come up, I want to thank Stephen for putting the event together. As mentioned, my name is Anne-Marie Chapman. I'm Director, Research Development Technologies with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada for the Guelph and Saint-Hyacinthe Research and Development Centres. My colleague Tony Savard often presents to Stephen. He sends his regrets today, and I will be presenting on his behalf. So I'd like to go to the next slide, please. So maybe just to paint the picture, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada has 20 research centres across Canada in 29 satellite locations. The reason why I mentioned this right now is because I'm going to talk and I'm going to zoom in a tiny bit more on Guelph and Saint-Hyacinthe, which are dedicated to food. But I do want to highlight, and you'll see it in a few slides, that a lot of our research centers across the country have food capacity as well, whom you can collaborate with. So coming to one research center basically allows you to access the expertise when possible of our scientific capacity across our 20 research centers. Next slide, please. But first, allow me to present AAFC's research priorities. There is so much that we can do on the agricultural side and on the food side as well, that AAFC has developed a strategic plan for science in which we highlight our missions and our priorities. So AAFC's research drives innovation and development to create circular value chain that create new market opportunities, improve food attributes and nutritional qualities, promote new technologies and processes with low energy, green power and water efficiency, improve food production system by reducing food loss and waste, and of course, ensure food safety, food security, and food sovereignty. So the research that is done encompasses all food production chain from the farmer's gate to the fork. So this is really important because we are a research institution and therefore we're looking at common research priorities. So there's a strong focus on food safety, circular value, food attributes in a circular value system, and so on. Next slide, please. So I presented the 20 research centers. I'm going to start zooming in on the one that have capacity on food. I will dive deeply into Saint-Hyacinthe and Guelph, so I'll skip over them quickly. So Saint-Hyacinthe is a research center. It's about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour east of Montreal in Quebec. And it is a research center that is dedicated on food processing research. Another center that is focused on food is the Guelph RDC, which is Research and Development Center, which is about an hour and 15 minutes northwest of Toronto. And that center is focused on food safety and threats and mitigation strategies. Out in the east, in the Atlantic, we also have some expertise and equipment and facilities related to food safety and quality in Kentville. Moving into the prairies, in Morden, Manitoba, we do have some scientists, again, infrastructure and expertise and equipment related to food, very much related to food nutrition and food health. In Lacombe in Alberta, we have facilities on meat science, meat production, and very much out west in Summerland, we've got expertise and facilities on food microbiology and novel attributes. So the size of the circle on this chart represents the number of scientists that we have. So again, you can see that we've got strong, or not strong, but a lot of capacity in Saint-Hyacinthe and Guelph, and that's the reason why those dots are larger. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in the next few slides, I will dive into Saint-Hyacinthe and Guelph. So I will start with Saint-Hyacinthe, which is a food processing research and pilot plant. So it is the research and development center that is dedicated on food processing. While you have all the beautiful pictures of the equipment and the infrastructure, I always start with the team. We have a team of 14 research science team with expertise in food attributes, food chemistry, food processing, value chain research, microbiology, robotics, and food safety. Okay, so we've got these teams, they're research scientists, they're supported with by research assistants, we've got chemists, we've got biologists, and so on. On the infrastructure side, half of the center is made of pilot plants that manufacture processed food in quasi-industrial conditions. What does that mean? So the pictures that you have are pictures of parts of the pilot plant. It means that there's 3,200 square meters of the research centers that is dedicated to the pilot plant, and there are over 400 pieces of processing equipment. To simplify things, I like to call them like Lego blocks. It is possible to set up a chain, use a red Lego with blue Lego and a yellow Lego one day, and then the next day you put one equipment down and you bring another equipment back up to model a different process or to run a different process. There are 3 specialized plants, a dairy plant, biotechnology plant, and a general plant. And there are also 4 mini plants that serve as an industrial incubator for startup or market trials. Nicole, the previous presenter, talked about sensory analysis. So there is also a sensory analysis facility that allows to test foods or products from a sensory perspective within a project. So this center and pilot plant provides an unparalleled opportunity for collaboration, and I'll come back to that a little bit. Next slide, please, as I'd like to present the Guelph and Research Center. Thank you. So this is the center that is dedicated to food research and food safety in Ontario. Similarly, I always start with the people. We have 14 research team, which have expertise in food safety, value-added food attributes, and alternatives to antibiotics as well. This center is home to a unique containment level 2 facility for food processing pilot plant, which is helping Canadians continue to be a leader in food safety and food process engineering in Canada. And within that processing pilot plant, there are 3 special units that are called biobubbles, which are designed to contain any contaminated materials produced throughout the testing process. So that is available in Guelph. Next slide, please. Just to give you an overview of what is in the other centers that I've mentioned earlier. So the top left picture with the meat is a picture from the Lacombe RDC in Alberta. So the Lacombe RDC has a 400 head beef herd, research feedlot, as well as a 100 Sofero finished swine unit. This is unique to Lacombe. It has a federally inspected research abattoir, and there are kitchen and taste panel area for sensory analysis. I'll move to the right to the Richardson Center for Food Technology. This is this is for Functional Grain Research Group, and AAFC scientists are located in that area. If I go down to the bottom right, what you have is CCARM. So this really looks at preclinical and clinical trials related to food attributes and their impact on health and health claims. And I'll go to the bottom left corner, Summerland Art Research and Development Center in BC. The center as a whole also has 90 irrigated hectares for various fruit trees and wine grapes. There's a small lot winery, and within the center, there is food research and extraction and a small pilot plant, as well as sensory evaluation laboratory. And what that I've missed, which is the picture in the middle on the left side, is the Kentville Research and Development Center. Lab scale controlled atmosphere storage chambers for fresh fruits and vegetables, and it has a containment level 2 facility. So again, that gives you an overview of the infrastructure that we have in each RDC across the country. But more importantly, we work as a team, and therefore, if we need the expertise, if you're working, for example, with the team of Summerland and you need expertise from another center, that collaboration is part of the spirit and how we operate at AAFC. Next slide, please. As we move into mechanisms to collaborate, being from the government, as you can imagine, there are a number of mechanisms that are available. I will only present 2 today, but what I'd like you to remember is that if you want to collaborate, if you have things that you want to discuss, just reach out. I've got at the end of the slide, I have my contact information. I have Tony Savar's contact information, or if you've got research scientists that you know, reach out to them, and then we can sit down and we can discuss if this is something of common interest and which mechanism would be the most appropriate. So just for the sake of presenting mechanisms, I'll talk about the collaborative framework, which is a process which allows AAFC and the industry to sit down and work on common objectives. So this allows the industry to benefit from AAFC extensive network of experts and R&D resources, while the industry is providing some in-kind and or cash contribution to support the R&D aspect. Another mechanism commonly used is the AgriScience program or project. So this is a program under the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership that aims to accelerate innovations by providing funding to support for pre-commercial science activities and research. So AAFC scientists can conduct research with industry or on the behalf of others through these programs. So there are nuances to them depending on where you're at on the spectrum of the development stage. And for the sake of today, I won't get bogged down into those details, but I just invite you to sit down and to talk to us, and we can determine which would be the best program if there is a common interest. Next slide, please. Great. So I was asked to provide a case study of collaboration, and there is so much collaboration that it's really difficult to choose one. I decided to choose Inodal as a case study because they presented and they were very generous in their time when they presented to the open doors that happened in Saint-Hyacinthe RDC back in the fall 2023. So two entrepreneurs reached out to AAFC scientists. So again, how to collaborate started with the phone call for support to materialize their strategic vision. Their goal was to launch a business with two distinct production streams, fermentation and peptide synthesis. Inodal's journey towards commercialization began with a year-long effort in a lab, actually, working with AAFC scientists to make a process of fermentation and drying economically viable and to optimize it. At that point in time in the lab, AAFC's expertise in fermentation and drying, combined to the equipment available, were critical to develop the concept. This foundational work laid the ground for the critical next step, right, which would have been validating the process, getting CFI approval, scaling up the production. So following that first year in the lab with the collaboration of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, that company went off and continued their commercialization journey. They established a laboratory, they hired a project manager, they hired technician, and they focused on studying foodborne pathogen. Going to fast forward a little bit in their story, but in 2020, just before the pandemic, INEO, which is a bacteriocin-based technology which targets Listeria, was approved by Health Canada. We know that by 2020, the pandemic hit, but this was good for them because they were approved before the pandemic. They were able to do small-scale production. Later in 2020, they reached out again to the scientists at the Saint-Hyacinthe Research and Development Center for their expertise and equipment for scaling up the production with the pilot plant that I talked about. So the team in the Saint-Hyacinthe Research and Development Center was enthusiastic to work with clients who were both passionate and scientifically driven, as their process incorporated several bold innovations. The company then required access to specialized infrastructure and expertise, specifically the fermentation and drying capabilities available in the pilot plant. These resources are unique within Quebec and played a pivotal role in enabling the proof of concept. The decision to collaborate with the Saint-Hyacinthe RDC proved to be a turning point for Inodal, directly contributing to the successful commercialization of their first anti-Listeria probiotic product for salmon. Inodal also collaborated with our analytical services and scientists to develop a highly sensitive analytical method for complex food matrices such as cheese. Overall, this company made strategic use of its environment, leveraging university funding, grants, and so on. They also were able to use strategically AAFC's Research and Development Center facilities and expertise to support their technical development, and it marked a significant milestone in their growth trajectory. Today, and I checked again very recently, this company is still well established and has a dedicated team commercializing their innovation of a natural anti-Listeria. Next slide, please. Again, this is more of an overview of the story that I've presented. The company really started in 2017, and they reached out twice for AAFC support and expertise in 2018 with that year-long laboratory collaboration. And again, later in 2020 and later on, doing the scale up at the pilot plant. Next slide, please. So with this, I hope that you end with a few messages that will stay with you. We've got 20 research and development centers across Canada that may collaborate with you on R&D projects via a number of mechanisms. Don't be shy by these mechanisms. Just sit down, reach out, depending on what your needs are. If we have a common interest in research and in advancing something, we can likely sit down and come up with a project. So next slide, please. With that, I will also leave you with contact information. So you've got my contact information as well as Tony Saval's contact information, who is my colleague. If you're not clear, or if you want to discuss an idea and to see if it's applicable or of interest to AAFC, reach out. We're happy to see how we can help or to direct you with towards others or working with others. So with that, I'll turn it back to Lavina.
Thank you so much. Well, we are big fans of Inadol here at CFIN. They're one of our grant funding recipients, so it was very interesting to hear how you helped them in some of their early product development. All right, our final speaker is Jillian Sproul, who is the Executive Director of BioFoodTech. Jillian has deep expertise in food safety, bioprocessing, and quality management, and has been a driving force in strengthening Canada's food and bioscience sectors. Jillian, would love to hear more.
Thank you very much. Thank you to CFIN for hosting this webinar. I am actually learning a multitude of things. I've made multiple notes here myself. What I think is very exciting is we all sound like we're sisters. We all came from the same family. A lot of the information about the other food centers you're going to find very common here with BioFoodTech as well. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so welcome to a peek inside of BioFoodTech. Am I on my second slide there? There we go. So we are PEI's premier food hub for innovation, bioscience expertise, and product development. We've got over 35 years experience. We empower entrepreneurs, startups, and well-established companies to transform their bold ideas, scale their businesses, and maximize efficiencies. We do all of this so that you can focus on your business while we're taking care of the science. We are a fully owned subsidiary of Innovation PEI, which is a crown corporation of the PEI government. We were created 37 years ago to support agri-food and seafood sectors on the island, specifically with the CFI registered pilot plants in the facility to allow that support for industries on the island. And we cannot talk about PEI and food without mentioning that we are Canada's food island. So whether you're a food lover or a food entrepreneur, everyone can be a part of Canada's food island story. I'm sure there's more than a few of you on this call who've had PEI oysters, PEI mussels, or PEI lobster, hopefully also PEI potatoes. We have an incredible ecosystem here on PEI to support food businesses. So this visual representation of supports here in this wheel, the bottom half there in the kind of brownish burgundy, that represents the supports for food businesses. It's made up of the PEI Bio Alliance, BioFoodTech, Canada's Smartest Kitchen, and Food Island Partnership. All of these organizations provide different types of supports and services and also have access to different sources of funding. We like to say this makes PEI the best place to de-risk your food entrepreneurship and your food innovation. Our model here at BioFoodTech is concept to pilot to market. So basically what businesses do, you'll come to us with your innovative ideas or recipes. We provide market intelligence reports and we can create your proof of concept samples. From there, we will work to validate your formulations, scale your recipes to test market batches in our federally inspected pilot plants so they can be used for human consumption. We will help you create labels and nutritional NFTs. And we can also connect you with co-manufacturers and help you navigate regulatory and your market entry. I'm going to give a couple examples through case studies at the end of this presentation today of how we've employed this concept. So a little more detail on our specific services. So box 1 and box 2 kind of describes that end-to-end scientific support and focus. The focus is on the concept to pilot to market model for innovators at various stages. We are able to help startups, great ideas, small to medium enterprises as well. The incubator and support, we have 2 federally inspected pilot plants where food can be produced for interprovincial trade. So sometimes people need that building. They're not ready to build their own buildings, but they're ready to use that space, start to grow their sales. So we have those 2 spots there. And I'd like to introduce box number 3, which is our fully accredited microbiology lab, also an award-winning lab service team. We are ISO 17025 fully accredited for food safety testing. We provide food safety testing, export all the seafood industry on PEI. We do a lot of environmental sample testing for pharmaceuticals and GMP facilities on the island as well. The lab can do shelf life testing and stability testing, as well as some validation work for new technologies. And box number 4 is where we like to capture the rest of our services under this tech services and industry support. And this is where we handle the science, the R&D, the troubleshooting pain points, so you can focus on your business, your stakeholders, your customers, and your operations. We handle the complex issues and research for you, and we can merge right into your workflow. So some of the examples we could do is research and development. A lot of small to medium-sized enterprises don't actually have a research and development department. We can partner with you to take care of that piece of work for you. Continuous improvement and validation work. I think someone mentioned earlier in this webinar about labor shortages and the need to move to automation, those types of projects. We will partner with other scientists and other agencies as well to help you move this along. And then the technical troubleshooting and rapid response. The uniqueness of Prince Edward Island is that we don't have as many manufacturers as you would find in, say, Quebec or Ontario. So we have the ability to really get to know manufacturers on PEI and know their businesses, know their processes. So when something goes wrong, we have that rapid response ability, whether it's to lend them out a piece of equipment they need on the spot or to go in and troubleshoot a pain point in their production. So physically, what makes up BioFoodTech? Our people, our equipment, and our expertise. So over the last 35 years, we've built a robust multidisciplinary team of scientists and experts to support both food and bioscience. From development kitchens to federally inspected pilot plants, right through to our accredited testing labs. We've also accumulated over 100 pieces of bench and pilot scale equipment, and we do work with equipment suppliers to help you make choices for purchases as well. And I thought 100 was a lot, but someone else said they had 400 pieces. So I know what that looks like in terms of trying to find storage for it all. So all of this was designed to help accelerate your success in the food industry. Our team is made up of seasoned scientists, technologists, and industry specialists. Together, their passion and deep technical knowledge helps our clients succeed at every stage of their business. These are a few of our team members I'd like to introduce. We have Dania, who specializes in waste valorization and food biochemistry. She's joined our team in the last year. TJ has over 20 years of experience in quality control, extraction technology, and validation work. Heidi is our dairy industry specialist. She's also a whiz with process and technology improvements and validation. And Melinda has recently joined us in the last year as well. And she's an award-winning product developer, and she's got chef training as well. So some of the work we've done with industry is something we're really, really proud of. So we'll start first with the coffee beans there. So we worked with a client called Refine, spelled R-F-I-N-E, if you'd like to look them up. And they are revolutionizing quick service coffee industry by using technology to upcycle spent coffee grounds into a food grade ingredient. They collect the spent coffee grounds and they apply their proprietary process to create a product called Kafika Cocoa Extender. So it is not a full cocoa substitute, but it extends the use of cocoa in recipes. And we know right now that the price of cocoa and chocolate is going crazy around the world. So this is a very good time for them to hit the market with this. So our role in helping Refine grow their business and innovation was to assist with their research and development and ultimately validate their process. We also created a hazard analysis plan to allow the outputs to be considered safe for consumption. We scaled them to test market batches and produced under HACCP. We tested end quality specs of their product. And once their process was well established, we've continued to work with them to look for further efficiencies. To learn more about Refine, you can check out their website. They're at refinebiomass.com. The second photo on there is the BB apple cider and beverage. So this client came to us and she had a recipe already for non-carbonated apple cider beverages that had been in her family. She asked us to generate some market intelligence report to see where she would fit into the beverage market. We partnered with Food Island Partnership to provide the Mintel on this. Then we took her recipes and made them into commercially viable proof of concept prototypes. We validated her base formulation and then started to source flavors. We created 3 iterations of 4 different flavors for her approval. We prepared the proof of concept prototypes and then also prepared her NFTs. So the client then took her recipes to a co-manufacturer, and on June 3rd, she had her first commercial run, filling all 4 flavors. She's now located in close to 65 stores in Atlantic Canada, and most recently, last week, she's into the next round of flavor development. So you can learn more about her products at drinkbb.com. Her website is launching in a couple of weeks, but you can also find her on Instagram. And if you're not in Atlantic Canada, I'm sorry, she's not outside of here yet. So the third photo there, this is a client, over 20 years in manufacturing, and we're producing a cheddar cheese snack, which is a baked product like a cracker. And they have been experiencing up to 80% waste in their production. And they had invested a lot of time internally trying to troubleshoot the problem. The product had been in production for 2 years and they were really getting nowhere and couldn't figure out the issues. So they then came to us. We sent our expert into their production to observe their processes, their equipment, their raw materials before production and after production. Various quality tests were performed on incoming materials. They combed through hundreds of thousands of production records, talked to employees, and then made some recommendations to solve the problem. The final result reduced the client's waste from 80% down to 0.04 at the last that we heard back from them. So this is a great example of that rapid response industry support. And this project in particular was supported by our NRC IRAP CTO funding to overcome a technical hurdle in their business. So what most people, entrepreneurs, when they hop on webinars, it is about the show me the money. So we do have access to three pots of money, one being specific to Prince Edward Island. So the first pot we have is our NRC IRAP C2O agreement project that we have here at BioFoodTech. So steps to engage there is you will connect with NRC IRAP and be assigned an industry technical advisor. They'll talk to you about your business, your goals, what your project might be, and then you can apply for some funding to increase your innovation capacity, overcome technical issues. These are 100% dollars, and you would connect with us as well as an industry advisor with NRC to access this funding. The second pot of money, the AAFC funding agreement, would be very similar to engagement to the top fund. So you will, this money is specific to waste valorization projects. So you'd want to reach out to us first here at BioFoodTech, discuss the project and scope of work. And then we would connect with NRC IRAP, with the AAFC sector team and work on that. And that funding is also at 100% dollars. And then for PEI registered businesses, we do have the PEI Food Development Fund, which is operated through Innovation PEI and supports businesses on Prince Edward Island for new product development, test market batch production, process improvement and validation, as well as there's some support for upgrading and training employees. And these are 50% dollars. So this funding operates here at BioFoodTech on a March to April fiscal year. So if anyone's interested in accessing any of that funding, to reach out to us right away. And that's it for me, quick and painless. Just like to say that, like the other centers that have presented here today, that's our goal, is to handle the science so you can focus on your business.
Great. Julie, I will hand it over to you for the Q&A.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you. That was so super interesting. Thank you for the presentations. We have questions. We have a few minutes. We won't be able to answer all of those. I apologize. in advance. So let's start. We have Nicole. Sally Tash makes a cream liquor, and she like to have some help to bring the product to market. So Nicole, Sally would like to know first if Wineland can help. Is there a cost? I believe so. And how her company can get grants for research and tasting. So can you help, Sally, please?
Yeah, for sure. And so, I mean, there's a few different ways that we can go about that. We don't have a liquor license, so I may pass it off to Jillian and Anne-Marie if they do on site, but we can work hand in hand with consumers, and we can actually be really creative without having that license as well to understand what's really the pain point that we're trying to solve when it comes to bringing your product to market. Are there regulatory barriers? Is it a consumer thing? Is it understanding the preferences or the drivers of liking within your product? Those are all items that we can start to identify. And ultimately, yes, there is a cost, but there are ways that we can work with you to fill out grants if some are applicable. We're always canvassing what's out there that companies can leverage to work with us. And ultimately, it's how do we get it to market, and what are the other connections that we can make, whether it's with the liquor board here in Ontario or something federally. How can we help support your commercialization through connections of our network within our network as well?
Thank you, Nicole. I hope Sally, this answer helps. Okay, so let's go for our next questions. This question was from Aaron. So they do have a new fermented beverage, and they would like some help with their marketing strategies and commercialization plans. Anne-Marie, do you think the Guelph Food Innovation Center could help with this?
So sorry, if you're talking to me about Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, we don't tend to go into the marketing. We're really more focused on the research, and we'll leave it to the others for the marketing aspect. But if you need help with the product per se, then there's a possibility to sit down and to discuss what could be done.
Any other?
You could help with the market roadmap in terms of how and what consumers you'd like to go approach to, but we're not per se a marketing firm either. I would leave that to the marketing experts.
Absolutely. Okay, and this is another question, and that will be our final question. We could do an hour on this one, so I'll go very quick. Please just answer really briefly. So Michael is asking, do you believe that the industry is capitalizing enough on these impressive facilities and research hard work? Any changes or shifts, big or small, you believe could be improved upon in this regard?
I can go first. What I find is that, especially in this economy, a lot of businesses are struggling to invest into line extensions, new products, new technology, just to keep the doors open and keep everyone's paychecks going. So I would say right now, for speaking for BioFoodTech anyway, we have capacity available. We're not being fully utilized. And I think it is a matter of dollars. There is funding available, but sometimes it's a little bit more difficult than, connecting with somebody and then you're automatically going to be approved. I would love to see more food businesses find ways to invest their dollars back into research and development, into sustainability, into labor market, things like that. But we're definitely not fully utilized, I would say.
Thank you. It's all the time we have. Lavina, back to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of our speakers today for sharing their time, their expertise, and their insights. I really hope today's session gave you a clearer sense of the variety of resources that are available out here and how these centers can help you tackle any challenge that you're facing. But more than anything, I hope it highlighted that you don't have to do innovation alone. There's an entire ecosystem out there designed to support your success. Before we wrap up, just wanted to make a very quick reminder about some of CFIN's upcoming events. The Food Tech Frontier 25 list celebrates Canada's most promising food tech companies of 2025. Please join us for regional celebrations to meet the winners and to celebrate food tech leadership and success. Tickets are on sale now for events in Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, and Halifax. And finally, if you're not already a CFIN member, I do encourage you to join. A membership is free and gives you access to funding opportunities, an active online community, and programming just like today's webinar. Most importantly, we can help you connect to innovators, researchers, and industry leaders from across the country who are helping to shape the future of food here in Canada. Again, thank you so much to our speakers and to all of you for taking the time to join us today. We will be sending out a follow-up with the recording and additional resources. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.